Trent Sherfield was recently signed by the Buffalo Bills, and a lot of Miami Dolphins fans weren't happy at all with what he said in recent interviews in Buffalo. His comments were analyzed, dissected, and categorized based upon what side of the aisle you sat on. So I said, hey, why not? Let's take a look at what he said. But I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm going to leave that up to you, if you even care what Trent Sherfield said. To me, this is all about doing a psychological study on the mental anguish of the typical fanboy. Allow me to explain. Do you remember the viral meme from a few years ago where people were asked to decide, was the dress yellow or was the dress blue? People were shown a dress and asked what color it was. They were shown the exact same picture. That picture was on Instagram, it was on Facebook, it was on Twitter. I'm sure there were YouTube videos about it. But people were asked to say, was this dress yellow or was this dress blue? And remember, people were looking at the exact same picture and they came up with different results. It was incredible. Here is what some psychologists determined. So this is from an article I found that talked about this whole viral meme, and it's from 2017. And the actual meme came out in 2015. It says 2 years later, we finally know why people saw the dress differently. And there was the dress. Are you seeing a yellow dress or are you seeing a blue dress? And it went nuts all over the internet. So here's what they said. I'm going to highlight this. Hopefully you can read it. The mere exposure effect, or the observation that people tend to like things if they're exposed to them more often. Understand that. You like things that you're exposed to more often. So that's one of the psychological triggers on this whole thing. So let's look at this other part. Now this is where it gets really important in how I tie it into football. Even outside of the vision scientists, most people just assume everyone sees the world in the same way. Sound like some fanboys you know? I'm sure you do. Which is why it's awkward when disagreements arise. It suggests one party either is ignorant, is malicious, a hater, has an agenda, or is crazy. You're a clown. We believe what we see with our own eyes more than almost anything else, which may explain the feuds that occur when the dress, article, video first struck and science lacked a clear explanation for what was happening. You get it? People look at things the way they want to look at them. They look at them as being malicious. What were the other words here? Let's take a look at it. They look at them as malicious, ignorant, having agenda, narrative. You've heard all these words, haven't you? Anything that is not agreeable in discussing a certain player on the Miami Dolphins is looked at as you're crazy, you're a clown. And it's scientific. It wasn't until I saw this article and I went, wow, there it is right there. You can't argue with it. It says, anything that one party either determines as ignorant, malicious, has an agenda, or is crazy. That's what they think of you if you don't believe what they believe. Was the dress yellow or was the dress blue? If you thought it was yellow, they thought you were crazy. If you thought it was blue, they thought you were crazy. There was a no-win situation. The bottom line is, depending upon what you saw with your eyes or heard with your ears, everybody else was wrong. Everybody else was ignorant. Everybody else was malicious. Everybody else had an agenda or a narrative. Everybody else is a clown. Sound familiar? I bet it does. While this was a scientific explanation for why people saw the dresses differently, why certain people saw a yellow dress and certain people saw a blue dress, it obviously explains the entire fanaticism with the fanboy attitude. What you hear Trent Sherfield say in this interview depends upon your perspective. He's either a hater or he's not. And it just depends if you have the rationality, I'll call it rationality, to understand it's a guy talking. Here's what he initially said.
It's like if you want to be an elite receiver, you come and play with an elite quarterback, so.
And that caused an immediate uproar. People began digging and fact-checking and looking for further context to support their perspective, i.e. rationalization for seeing a yellow dress or a blue dress. People started looking for validation. A reporter who covers the Buffalo Bills posted this tweet. In this tweet, he says Trent Sherfield on his decision to come to Buffalo and play for the Bills with multiple teams in the mix for his services. Quote, if you want to be an elite receiver, come and play with an elite quarterback. Oh my God, did he just imply that Tua is not an elite quarterback? We must drag him. We must clap back. We must come after him with all we have. To the fanboys out there, this was blasphemy. How dare another player joining another team would dare say anything out of context, out of step against the anointed one. And that's all he needed. And the torches and pitchfork mob was on their way. Someone actually took a snapshot of what Trent Sherfield said and posted it and said, hey, see, this is what he really said. Let's take a look at that tweet. So I'm going to read this word for word. Once the door closed for Sherfield to return to Miami, he began contemplating where he wanted to play next. He loved the fit in Buffalo with the offense and quarterback Josh Allen. That was a statement. Here comes a quote. A couple of teams were in the picture, he said, but Buffalo came into the picture and it was just like something I just could not look past with obviously how the offense plays and obviously the offensive coordinator, Ken Dorsey, and Josh Allen and everything like that. It's like if you want to be an elite receiver, you come and play with an elite quarterback. Words are words. There was nothing taken out of context. You just saw his exact quote. His exact quote. And people were like, oh, see, he wasn't talking about Tua. I don't know what he was talking about. All I know is he said the words, if you want to be an elite receiver, you come and play with an elite quarterback. His words, not mine. Definitely not the people on Twitter. You can actually look at this and see which part of this statement is actually a quote and just an article. This part up here is just an article. This down here, I went to English classes and it says a quote, quotation marks surround this entire quote. And he says, it's like if you want to be an elite receiver, you come and play with an elite quarterback. I don't know how you would take that out of context, but they did. I didn't look to trash Sherfield on Twitter. I didn't wish him ill. I didn't look at his stats with the Miami Dolphins and call it garbage. And I bet if you have any rational mind, you didn't either. Those of us with rational minds looked at that, if we saw it, shrugged and said, so, whatever. What's for dinner? Didn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's words. Why am I going to get upset about what some receiver said about my quarterback? But then Trent Sherfield said this.
And what you expect to be different for you as a receiver.
Yeah, I know one thing for certain that I know that's going to be different is the timing. Right. Miami was all time. Like you had to be in the right place, in the right spot at the right time, and quarterback was dropping back and he was letting the ball go. Like no matter if you was there or if you weren't, like it's just all timing and trust. And I know that that's still kind of the same thing here with Buffalo as well too. But I think with Josh Allen, with his ability to extend plays and to be able to make nothing out of something, I think that what I know that I have to be ready for is that I can run a route and the ball might not come to me, but that doesn't mean the route is over. Like I have to be able to get ready to do scramble drill, find soft zones, and be quarterback friendly for Josh. So.
And all that was more yellow dress and blue dress fodder. Did Trent Sherfield really diss Tua Tagovailoa? I don't know. And I don't care. I guess, like in football, there's a third option you can take. Is the dress blue? Is the dress yellow or gold? Or I don't care what color that dress is. Take the third option and just scroll past all of this. Why worry about it? I bet you're thinking the same thing. What is this all about? You know why you're thinking that? Because you have a life. I understand how some of the rabid people out there would take it and perceive this as a dig at Tua. And they really don't understand how most of us don't care. It's absolutely meaningless. Meaningless. Trent Sherfield now plays for the Buffalo Bills. Period. I don't care that he's in Buffalo. I hope he does well the entire season, except for when he plays the Dolphins, of course. But it's not making me go out on the internet and go nuts. So put the torches and the pitchforks down and get out and enjoy life. Or as they say, touch grass. Oh, and by the way, it was definitely a yellow dress. Talk to you soon. Let me know what you think. Fins up.
Is anybody catching on to this Barry guy?